Hey guys, I'm Pixel Dan, and this is a review of the Masters of the Universe Classics, Stinkor. Adding to the ranks of Skeletor's evil warriors comes another figure straight out of the vintage toy line. Does this new figure make for a good addition, or does he just stink? Let's take a look. Stinkor comes in the standard Masters of the Universe Classics blister card packaging. I love this little blurb on the front. It's fun! And yes, just as it says, this figure does actually smell just as the vintage figure did, which I'll talk about in just a moment. The back of that box gives us a look at other figures in the Classics line, as well as a brand new bio for Stinkor. Stinkor is another figure from the vintage toy line who has received a pretty amazing upgrade for Classics. He does include two different heads, the first of which is a repaint of the Merman head just like in the vintage toy line. But if you aren't keen on displaying him this way, the good news is that he also includes an all-new head that is more similar to his look from the 2000X cartoon series. So just like with Merman, we got a vintage head and an all-new head. I love this. Also like Merman, Stinkor has a cool extra piece over his neck for added fluff on his fur. And he utilizes the Beastman furry body, just like the vintage cross-cell artwork. And he sports some brand new armor, which in the vintage toy line was also shared with Mecha, so we've got that in this toy line now. So let me tell you guys a little story about Stinkor. This is one of my vintage memories that I still hold. It's really weird how you remember some of these things sometimes, but I still remember the day that my parents bought me the vintage Stinkor figure. Because when I ripped open the package and I smelled the patchouli smell on Stinkor, it scared me. I don't know why, but I was deathly frightened of Stinkor because he smelled. I started crying. I didn't want it anywhere near me. My parents actually had to take it from me, and they hid it in their dresser in their bedroom for probably several months until finally one day I decided I was brave enough and I asked my mom for Stinkor and she finally gave it to me. I don't know why I wanted to share that with you because every time I play with Stinkor, it's just one of those things that I remember from my childhood. And I had a huge rush of nostalgia when I opened up this brand new Stinkor figure because of his smell. And yes, in case you didn't know, this Stinkor figure smells just like the vintage Stinkor figure. Patchouli is what the smell was that they actually put in the plastic to make it smell. And it's quite amazing, actually. I opened up the package and it was like a wave of nostalgia just slapped me in the face. So it's really cool that they included that, and I'm very happy that Mattel did actually put the smell on there. Now, one thing I do want to note, his smell is not near as strong as Mossman's was, at least not in my opinion. I remember when Classics Mossman came out, as soon as I pulled him out of the mailer box, it's like I just got knocked out because that pine smell was so strong. Stinkor I did not smell until I actually pulled him out of his blister card and sniffed him. So it's not like an overpowering smell, and honestly it's probably going to fade over time just like the vintage figure. But nonetheless, I still think it's pretty awesome that the smell is there, and I seriously can't stop sniffing this guy. It's awesome. It totally reminds me of my childhood. Alright, so let's take a closer look at Stinkor and his articulation. So one of the things we got here with Stinkor is the Mecha armor. How about that? One step closer to Mecha. First time we've seen this armor piece here. It is a little softer. You can see it's not hard plastic. It's soft, which is what most of the Classics armor has been. It is removable if you want to pop it off. It's just got these little pegs right here on the back. So you can pull the back off and you can pull the armor off if you want to. And of course underneath, you can see he does have the white stripe going down his back. One of the cool things about this figure is he actually does utilize the Beastman body, unlike the vintage figure that utilized the Merman body. What that means is that Stinkor actually has the fur detail all the way along his body, which actually makes much more sense for him being a skunk. So kudos to Mattel and the Horsemen for doing this body instead of the Merman one. Another cool thing I want to point out is, just like with Merman, the Horseman actually sculpted this like fluffy fur piece that sits up on the neck that just really adds a little bit of detailing on there. So he's got that real fluffy neck underneath the head. It's a very cool little piece. I actually really like that. Alright, so let's get his armor snap back on here. Now, of course, the articulation otherwise is pretty standard for the Classics line. The head does move all the way around. The armor comes up and covers like the nose part of his mouth, but it doesn't actually touch it, so it doesn't get in the way at all. He's got the ball-jointed shoulders. He's got bicep twists, elbow joints, wrist joints. He still moves at the torso pretty well, even with the armor on. He's got the waist twist. He does have the very soft loincloth piece, so he can sit down really well. You don't have to worry about that. If you want to have him hijack the Wind Raider, he can do that no problem. You can probably get him on Battle Cat and all those characters just fine. He's got same standard movement in the knees. You got the boot cut articulation. You've got the joints. He does still have the old pin showing joints there, but this figure, all the way through and through, he's pretty much a reuse of parts, aside from the few little extra pieces sculpted on there, and the new Mecha neck armor. Now, one of the things that is really great about Stinkor is he kind of follows the trend of a lot of the figures we've had this year. Mattel has really been knocking these guys out of the park as far as their accessories and their display options, and Stinkor is no exception to that rule. So first of all, he comes with the standard Merman head repainted, just like the vintage figure. And if you don't want to display him with that Merman head, well, the good news is that he actually does come with a secondary head. This one is much more like feral skunk looking than the Merman head. It's very reminiscent of something that we would have seen in like the 2000X era from the cartoon. He looked a lot more like this. It's got much more pointy ears, so you can actually pop off this head. If you don't want to do the vintage look, we can soup him up a little bit. We can put the new head on there, and then there's all kinds of cool little goodies we can add on. This little red piece on the front is removable via a small little peg, and in its place, we can put this little lever piece, which I suppose would be the little lever that controls the gas mask that is over Stinkor's face, because, you know, he can't stand the smell of his own stink, so that's kind of neat. So you can add this little lever piece on there. He does have a small little blue gas mask that you can also put on his face. Now, it's form-fitted, which they've done that a lot with the Classics line so far. So it's actually sculpted to fit over this head's mouth. You can put it on the other head, but it doesn't fit quite as good. It doesn't really stay on there very well. I'm sure you can probably balance it, though, if you want to. It does form fit to this other face. Now, I kind of wish it locked on a little tighter. You can see it does clip on pretty good, but it does have a tendency to fall down. It doesn't click or anything like that. It's just one of the things that just kind of sits real nicely on his mouth. But it does stay on pretty good, so you can add that gas mask part on there. Then, on top of that, you've also got the little backpack pieces with the tanks on there. All these accessories are just like a solid blue color. I kind of wish there was a little bit more detailing going on, but still neat nonetheless. You can see it's got the cross on there and the little peg, so it fits with his backpack. Just plug that right on his back there. He's got the blue shield, just like the vintage figure, but on top of that, he's also got this brand new gun to shoot his stink, like in the MYP cartoon series. So you can add all these new elements, and it totally gives you a secondary display option for your Stinkor. And you can mix and match all these parts to get whatever desired look you want for the character. It's really cool. You can go completely straight vintage, none of these accessories except the blue shield and the Merman head, or you can add all this other extra stuff to give them kind of an MYP element. However you choose to do it, all those options are right here. All of those accessories are pretty amazing. I love that these figures have been coming with so much lately. The only complaint I have is that all of his accessories are the same bright blue with no extra details or variations to the paint job. I kind of wish there were some little metallic highlights or something on the gun, backpack, and shield to make them stand out and look a little more special than they do. So let's get a closer look at all of those accessories. First up is the blue shield, which was the accessory that was included with the vintage action figure. It's similar to the Palace Guard shield and can clip onto either wrist. Then there's the brand new gun, similar to what we saw in the 2000X era. To go along with this, we also get a new backpack of gas tanks that plugs into his armor via a small peg. Alright guys, it's comparison time! Here's Stinkor alongside his vintage counterpart. This is yet another amazing update of the vintage figure. And here he is alongside the 2000X Staction figure, where you can see the similarities in his newly tooled head and accessories. Stinkor was always one of my favorite evil warriors. After I got over my initial fear of him, of course. And I think this is another figure that the Horsemen did an amazing update to. As I said earlier, I love that these figures are coming with so many accessories, which allow for multiple display options. And the added stink gives that awesome nostalgic feeling. In my opinion, Stinkor wouldn't be Stinkor without it. Stinkor is part of the 2012 Eternian Collectors Club subscription and will be available on MattyCollector.com on May 15th, 2012. Until next time,